everybody, and welcome to the latest in a series of webinars that's been exploring fleet digitalization. And in this particular webinar, I'll be looking at trailer innovation and exploring the benefits of smart trailer technology. So what will I be looking at with you? We'll be exploring the background and context for commercial trailer operators. We'll be looking at what is smart trailer technology. We'll be exploring how it works and what we're going to get as a result of data insight. What benefits are we going to get from that? We're also going to explore why it's an essential component of any fleet digitalization program. And as I mentioned before, I'll be looking at the benefits of using smart trailer technology. I'll be using Atlas as an example for you, because Atlas is a technology that is here. It's real and it's tangible and being used in the marketplace. We'll finish off with some questions and answers, and I'm really pleased to say that we've had a lot of questions sent in. So let's start by exploring the background and the context, if you like, to why smart trailer technology is important. Now, the haulage industry has continued to evolve, and most of the technology has been employed at the front end of the transport. And I feel that trailers are often overlooked. They're a key component in the transportation process. And it's worth noting that there are 10 million trailers in Europe alone. If you think about it, only 8% of those trailers have any form of telematics, and that results in things like 70% of tyre breakdowns occurring in trailers. Also, one of the challenges are that trailers spend a significant amount of time both uncoupled and unpowered, so access to any form of data has been quite challenging for the operator. Now, if you like, that technology, much of that technology has been quite complex for the operator. I'm often told clunky is a word that's used by operators when examining the amount of components that's used and the technology that has to be used just for the trailer itself. One of the other challenges, of course, has been, how do I marry both the trailer and the tractor unit at the front end without the need of the driver or the operator, for example, having to configure two different systems? And often in the marketplace, what we're seeing at the moment in industry is the fact that two different systems are employed and they're having to bring that together, which is often quite challenging for trailer operators. I've mentioned previously in other discussions that once a trailer does become uncoupled and unpowered, it becomes part of the ghost fleet. And what I mean by that is that it becomes invisible. Its location is not known, and therefore no data is accessible for it. Now, fortunately, there's a solution to the challenges, and they're starting to progress onto the market. But let's explore in the next slide what smart trailer technology is and how it works. So, advanced IoT technology is something you'll come across. However, smart trailer technology is really the integration of advanced technology into trailers. Now, what's its purpose? Its purpose is to provide safety, efficiency, and increased productivity. And how it does that is the technology uses sensors. And those sensors are mounted, particularly in our example here, around the trailers. And therefore, that sensor information needs to be collected. So let's have a look how we collect sensor information. So the first thing we do, and let me show you here, I'll use a tyre pressure monitoring sensor located on the valve on the rim of the wheel. Now, that information is put through to what we call a gateway. So that information on tyre pressure, on tyre temperature is collected into a gateway. In this case, I'm showing an Atlas unit gateway. Now, there are also other examples of data that we can collect. In this case, we've collected tyre pressure, tyre temperature. We can also collect the location of the trailer. It's also worth noting that the technology available now means that even if the trailer is uncoupled and without power, the gateway unit, or the Atlas unit in this case, provides a separate power source, an independent power source, which is rechargeable from the trailer. So what that means is that sensor information, whether it be from doors opening, unauthorized movement, or even just collecting the tyre pressure data, is still available to us for many weeks without the need for any recharging. Now, I've given just one example of tyre pressure monitoring there. There are other examples as well. For example, hub and hub temperature monitoring, wheel loss monitoring is available now. Axle loads as well. Now, if a trailer has been loaded the night before, then the fleet manager actually has the data to say, are those axles, are they correctly loaded? And I think what's more important as a fleet operator is that I can collect data before that trailer even moves or is powered up. Why is that an important thing? Well, let's give a real life example. If I'm an operator and I need to move that trailer in the morning and I've assigned my driver to pick that trailer up, using the data insight, I'm able to locate the trailer efficiently. I'm able to understand on that trailer, is everything okay? So are the tyre pressures and temperature okay? And the good thing about that is we'll have taken a tyre pressure reading when the tyre is cold. So the fleet manager will have access to all of this information. But how does that work? So the information has gone to the gateway, and therefore we need to read that information. Now, trailer manufacturers are starting to utilize a CAN bus on the trailer, and that's to access a multitude of sensors around the trailer so that any data on that CAN bus can be collected by our gateway, in this case the Atlas unit, and utilized. And how does it get utilized? You're probably asking. Well, all that information is fed through to the internet. Okay, so that real-time data is put and loaded to the internet, but we've got to consume, we've got to access that data insight. So we do that in a number of ways. The first way is through a web application, and the second way can be through the mobile app. And I use again the Atlas unit to illustrate that all that real-time data is quickly accessible. Now, what is that data going to give us? Well, it's going to give us insight, and it's going to mean that we can efficiently manage our fleet. So tyre performance and getting the most out of our assets. Fuel consumption. I mean, the two are very linked. For example, if my tyre pressures are 10% underinflated, I'm using 1% extra fuel on my fleet. Now, it doesn't sound much on one trailer, but if you look at the cumulative effect, it can increase costs substantially on fleets. Also, as an aside, my tyre loses 10% of its life, even just being 10% underinflated. Also, I need to manage the personnel within my fleet effectively, and data insight brings the opportunity to do that. One of the great things about having an insight into the health, if you like, of our trailer is that we can proactively maintain the trailer. What do I mean by that? Well, we can actually prevent incidents occurring before they happen. So, by having tyre pressures, by having a correct load, all can be safely transported. If we think about it, a tyre, its role and purpose is to carry the load at speed under safe conditions and travel at speed. So, and cushion the load. It can do that if it has the optimum pressure within it. Locating my trailer not only for being able to allocate my personnel and send my prime mover to pick it up and understand where the location is, but I can now monitor, even when uncoupled and unpowered, where the trailer is. I can look at any unauthorized movement of that trailer. So, in effect, the trailer data collection gives you greater operational insight, and therefore, our fleet manager can make some real informed decision and proactively maintain their fleet. So, let's have a look in the next slide about data insight. So, I mentioned there that we have both a web application and a mobile application. So, what am I looking to extract from the data? Well, on our web application, I'm using the Atlas for an example in this case. The reporting is done by what we call exception reporting. So, only those proactive maintenance alerts that need to be attended to are highlighted. So, in this case, we use a triage system. Now, if we have 10%, you can customize alerts to tell you, look, I want in my triage system, if it's an amber alert, for example, I want to be able to view that and make an informed decision. So if I'm 5%, 10% underinflated, I proactively schedule that for maintenance. Any highlight should be immediately highlighted. And if we take a look at our data sheets over there, they're providing both vehicle and tyre information. So anything that goes on holistically within the ecosystem of that trailer is being highlighted. And it's important to recognize that we can drill down into tyre behavior, etc., to gain a real understanding of our fleet. So that's web application, and it's worth noting that whoever the fleet manager wants to be involved in the process of examining data and using it as part of their proactive maintenance and scheduling, etc., can do so. But we need to monitor on the go as well, and that's very important. And so therefore, smart mobile apps are very important. Apps are something we use every day. We're very comfortable with them now. So we can monitor our fleet on the go. But in this case, the app provides a lot more than monitoring. We can configure our vehicle, for example. We can understand the location. We can customize alerts. So all these things are possible just through the use of our phone. Smartwatches, for example, can have notifications pushed through. And it's important to recognize that you need many languages in today's working environment. And the Atlas unit, for example, is available in 12 languages. So let's have a look on our next slide, what the benefits are. And I think this is probably the most important slide. There are many features to smart trailer technology, but I need to know as a fleet operator, what is in it for me and what is in it for my fleet. Now, the benefits, there's a long list of value added propositions for using smart trailer technology. I've highlighted some here that may resonate with you and say, yeah, to me, that's important. To me, to myself, safety is always very important, not only for my employees, such as drivers, etc., but also the work environment. And what do I mean by the work environment? Highways, yards, etc. I want people working around my trailers to be able to be safe, whether traveling on the highways or loading that trailer. And safety can also mean safety of carrying the load. For example, I've just mentioned about the tyre cushioning the load, transporting the goods safely and at a recognised speed. And it can do that if the tyre is correctly inflated. So fuel efficiency, I'm sure, will resonate with everybody there. 10% of underinflation, very, very easy. In the decades I've worked within the transportation industry, I think we can all say many tyres work at or operate at 10% under inflation. It's natural. Tyres lose pressure naturally. And so that 10% equaling a 1% extra fuel consumption. And again, if my fleet is 50, 100 trailers, 200 trailers, you calculate the cost of that. And with fuel already being a concern and a top 3 spend for hauliers, then any way we can influence our usage through technology is important. Asset management, well, that to me includes a multitude of things for a haulage operator. Let's focus on something that's directly on the trailer, the tyre. If, as I mentioned, 10% under inflation equals 10% reduction in tyre life, it effectively means that for every 10 tyres I'm purchasing, I'm giving the tyre manufacturer and the service provider money for a tyre that really I've just wasted. So it's important to get the most from that. The security of the trailer has often been overlooked. We see them in lay-bys at various places around. They're uncoupled and they're unpowered. How do I track that? It's important that we do have some form of way that we can track a vehicle, whether it be unauthorized entry, whether it be unauthorized movement, or if the trailer itself is taken. Technology is now available that will help you get an alert the moment that occurs. Meeting legal requirements, a lot of us will hear all about the R141 legislation coming from the EU. And that is legislation around tyre pressure monitoring systems, particularly for trailers as well. Now, whilst the UK is not signed up in the EU anymore, it has signed up to R141 legislation, not just the UK, but a variety of other countries as well. So this will become a legal requirement. Fortunately, the technology is here to address that. I've mentioned about resource management, about having people in the right place. If I send my driver in the cab, for example, to go and pick up my trailer, I can, first of all, tell the driver exactly where that trailer is. I understand the health of both the tyres, the load, the wheels, etc. So I'm able to confidently send my person out to pick up that trailer and then safely go on and deliver on time the goods that are on that trailer. And that leads me really to fleet efficiencies. We all have a reputation now that has to be kept. And if we proactively maintain our fleet, we can meet the deadlines that are imposed by our customers. We're able to take a trailer, we're able to recognize and understand everything that's going on the trailer and safely deliver the load on time without incident. So that journey health and proactive maintenance, it really is one of the benefits of the technology, how I can prevent anything occurring on my trailer before it's happened. Let me give you an example. Tyres, for example, only in rare circumstances upon impact, do they have a catastrophic failure. Normally, there's an auditable trail of why a tyre has failed. So, for example, if I have a slow puncture, if air is leaking from my valve, that causes a slow deflation of the tyre over time. But when running that tyre, the tyre itself loses air, so there's a constant flexing of the casing. Now, if it constantly flexes, it heats up and eventually like a coat hanger, if I was to use a coat hanger as a good example, if I was to continually bend a metal coat hanger, eventually it would snap. And that's very much like our tyres. Eventually, our tyres will snap and therefore causing catastrophic failures. And you only have to look at the middle of the motorways to see all the casings that are stacked up on the middle of the motorway. And that's caused by tyres that over time have perhaps overflexed through underinflation. So therefore, having that information of having a slowly pressure being released enables us to proactively maintain that tyre. So I finish up on this one because at a recent convention at the National Exhibition Centre in Birmingham in the UK, the Commercial Vehicle Show, I got the sense that there was an overwhelming topic that has to be discussed and action taken, and that is fleet decarbonisation. And technology can help that. We can mitigate climate change. Often fleets are, and in some cases quite rightly pointed it, as being a major contributor to CO2 emissions. And that's brought about because we may be inefficiently using our trailers. So what can we do to efficiently use our trailers? Well, often I talk about how successful the water campaign has been, where we're encouraged to switch off our tap whilst brushing our teeth. Now, that small action can lead to bigger changes, but cumulatively across the country, across Europe, etc., that can have a dramatic change in the amount of water that we consume. Smart trailer technology is very similar. If we adopt smart trailer technology, we can mitigate by having correctly inflated tyres 24/7. We can mitigate the amount of emissions that we have, but also there are other benefits, such as complying with regulations and legislations. So all this tells us the benefits are that collecting that vehicle data, giving us greater operational insight, will lead to increased profitability. And I think that's very important in today's fleet operations. So we've collected our data, we understood how our data is collected, we've used our data, and by using smart trailer technology, it's an innovative solution. It does actually help fleet managers. It improves safety, increases efficiency, and therefore with those efficiency increases comes an increase in productivity. And that trailer technology, in particular Atlas trailer technology, enables that fleet manager to gain a 24/7 real-time insights. At no time of fleet transportation have we ever been able to collect as much data as we can now. So by collecting that data, by using that data, we get those real insights to make informed decisions, and we can optimize our operations. And the list of benefits, as I've mentioned, well, you can pick many from the list, all point to increased operational productivity, as well as I say, increased profitability. So I think it's very important. Now, we've had an incredible response to this webinar, and the team above there have been working to collate the questions that I'm going to answer now. We had so many. We can assure you that we're going to get round to answering every question. But the questions that are selected here, we think many of you will have the same questions. So let's have a look at the first question and discuss that. So I'll read this out. The question is, we tried some valve monitors a few years ago, but the damn things would break and then let the tyre down. So we took them off. The trucks now monitor the tyre pressure through the ABS system, which seems to work quite well. We get a message on the dash if one tyre is low. We don't have anything on the trailers. Well, first of all, that's an absolute great question, and it's in a few parts. So I'll deal with the first one. We tried some valve monitors, but took them off because they kept breaking and letting them down. So I would say two things. Firstly, our biggest competitor, whilst using the Atlas system, our biggest competition out there in the field is failed systems. It's failed system because the technology they've tried is early, and more often than not, it does fail the user. Now, I would say with Atlas technology, our heritage and our approach has come from the most challenging environments on the planet. So we looked after the health of machines and tires in the mining and extraction industry. That is the most challenging terrain on Earth, and we are so confident, and it's now used out there anyway, the Atlas system, that this technology is now reliable. I think it's great that this person that's posed this question recognizes the importance of TPMS, and they recognize that any data is better than no data at all. And in this case, the driver is able to access the data. Well, Atlas now brings the very realistic prospect of having both trailer and the prime mover in front being able to access TPMS, not just the driver, but also those fleet managers and anybody that's involved in the safety and efficiency of those trailers. And I'd be pleased to discuss how onboarding the Atlas technology gives you seamless access to TPMS technology. Let's have a look at the next question then. So the question is, the biggest issue I find is currently, even if you did find a low pressure, you wouldn't be able to properly inflate it on the road unless you called a tyre fitter, who probably wouldn't be very happy at 1 o'clock in the morning on a wet, hard shoulder of the M6, but that's another discussion. My other worry with tyre monitors is it can lead to drivers feeling they don't have to check the tyre condition, and it would be good to see what needs to be installed onto the trailer for the system. We rent our trailers currently, but it would be of interest if the install is pretty simple. Well, again, that's another great question, and I'll answer that in parts. So the first message to you is, even if you find a low pressure, well, the benefits of the technology is there to be able to proactively maintain that trailer on the fleet. So you can have vision, as I've explained, even before you pick up the trailer, of the total health of the tyres and the trailer itself. My other worry is that the tyre monitors can lead to drivers feeling they don't check tyre condition. Now, I'm going to say hand on heart that I know thousands of drivers in the industry, and there is no harm in using the word of tyre kicking. To be honest, a driver, the most they can contribute to a tyre inspection is simply a visual. If I've got something stuck between the twinned wheels and tyres, yes, I can see that. I can see if the tyre's gone down. I can see if there's anything sticking outside the tyre. What the driver doesn't do is basically take tyre pressures, and often those pressures may be worn and inaccurate anyway. So this technology enhances the driver's checking. So what it does is it provides data and information, in this case on our tyres, that everything is saved within the pressure. And pressure is obviously the overriding monitor of what's happening inside that tyre. So whilst the driver can do a visual, he or she or they can be backed up by the technology. So we rent our trailers, and if the install is pretty simple. Okay, let's start by showing you here the process of installation. Firstly, our sensors are actually mounted. In this particular case, we have tire pressure monitoring sensors, and we have our wheel loss sensors. There is the Atlas unit, the gateway, the cell GPS antenna that's placed on top of the trailer or wherever it can get a signal, and then the RF, the robust RF antenna that's placed underneath the trailer collects all the RF data from the sensors that are underneath there. Now, it's important to recognise we have a mantra as well: simple to fit, and I think you'll find this can be fitted within 30 minutes, 45 minutes, easy to use. Well, our web app will give you that simplicity. You can load all the information you need to, so programming is very quick onto that mobile app, and at an affordable price. By utilizing less components to give you that solution, you can reduce the cost to the operator. And that's exactly what we set out to achieve, and we did achieve with the Atlas system. So I think it's also good to recognize here that I put an illustration on here of our wheel loss technology. Now, it's really simple to fit. And the good thing about wheel-less technology, again, it highlights the benefit of using innovation. Often wheels, as you've seen, have plastic indicators. Now, that's a great step. That's an evolution in the step of maintaining the fight against wheel loss. Now, by using technology, that very same fight is taken whilst the trailer is on the go. So whilst it's mobile and on the go, you're able to make sure that if there's any movement within the wheel, that an alert comes not only to the driver, but to the fleet operators themselves. And therefore, they can quickly make that decision to safely pull over and make sure that before they carry on, they've examined that wheel and done the necessary actions. So a real simple technological solution to what is an issue outside in the transport industry. Hope that's answered that question for you. So I'll pull up the next question. And the next question is, let's have a look. Well, all of our trucks have trackers, but the problem is with trailers is power supply. As we can go to a depot and the trailer is left on site with no power, and sometimes it can be for up to 2 weeks. So I'm not sure how we could get around that without having a power pack on it. And we have over 35 trailers of different sizes, so that would be very expensive. Well, again, another good question, and tracking is very important for trailers, as we've mentioned. The good thing, and I talk about the Atlas solution, is because the Atlas gateway is battery backed, it's rechargeable. You can leave that trailer for weeks, even months, to have a full insight into what's happening on that trailer. So you'll know the location, you'll know the health of everything that's going on within that trailer, because the gateway will feed that back to you. On the subject of 35 trailers, well, the Atlas is designed to be an independent system. It's a real cost-effective system, and it doesn't discriminate between trailer size, trailers, tires, etc. Now, hopefully that's answered that question for you. We go to the next question, which is trailer innovation on SPMTs. Now, you've actually hit my favorite part of transportation and trailers. The question is, there's no scope for a pressure monitoring system that's not a factory option either. The SPMT is driven by remote control, has many axles and tires, and would be impossible to manage. And the units are modular, allowing connection laterally and sideways, so the data required to give an indication of any pressure in that number of wheels would be far too complex. Now, the SPMT, I've put an illustration on there. It's a modular system, so it is trailers that have multiple axles, multiple wheel positions, and are employed to literally carry heavy loads. So if you see motorway bridges, for example, being moved, chances are it's on an SPMT. And the operator of these systems builds these trailers up in order to be able to accommodate that weight in order to move. Now, here's a good thing, particularly about the Atlas system and the innovation on here. The Atlas system is able to cope with as many wheel positions and as many axles that are on the SPMT. And I think it's worth also noting that those tyres are not normal trailer tyres in the sense that they're not operating at 130 psi. They're often operating at much higher pressures, anywhere up to 200 psi. So it's important that the system is reliable and robust enough to cope with that data that's coming through, particularly up to 200 psi. Now, I've also put down as part of that on the mobile app itself. What does a mobile app do when it comes to looking at particularly SPMTs? Well, if I have a configuration, I can use my app. It's very simple to build that configuration. So in this case of an SPMT, I can accommodate as many axles on the SPMT, and I can accommodate any configuration. I just have to build it myself. And it's very simple to do that on the mobile app. Hopefully that's answered the question. I'm going to be looking forward to contacting the operator of these SPMTs and showing that and demonstrating that we do fit to heavy haulage. One thing, the challenge is to our operators out there, we've been unlimited in the number of axles and wheel positions, etc. we can put on Atlas. We're really looking forward to somebody challenging us and saying, we're interested, but we challenge you to put it on this number of wheels and axles. So we look forward to that. And maybe one day we'll get to know. But for the moment, we can build it easily on the mobile app and it's unlimited. Let's have a look. Well, that's the end of the questions. I've been really pleased with the questions that's come through. We've had so many. We will answer every question that's come through, but I would urge you, if you've got a question as part of this webinar, please send it to myself or the team. And you can access a lot of the information still from the Atlas website. Again, Atlas TPMS brings you a lot of, from case studies to how these things, how the Atlas unit is fitted, how these things bring great benefits by using data insight into fleets, and in particularly your fleet. I'm very confident of that. So I would also urge you, contact the team if there's any further questions you have. I'm looking forward to meeting future customers, particularly of the Atlas technology, and introducing them to the technology. And I'm also looking forward to any customer that wants to employ this technology, even perhaps on a trial basis. They want a proof of concept, for example. Contact myself or the team. We'll be able to guide you through every step of the way, and we'll guide you through everything from the introduction of the technology, the fitment, how it's used, and with a very comprehensive after-sales service as well. Thank you very much for attending this webinar, and I look forward to speaking to you in the future.